Mike says, I have 100 shares of TWLO, Twilio. Which tool is the best use for weekly covered positions? The one thing you can easily do to use just the option chain. And the reason why I say use the option chain is because our option chain shows you the percent downside protection, percent return if assigned, percent return if unchanged, and probability. So you don't really see on other chains. On the straight call chain, let me go there. So what we have here is you're seeing the percentage downside protection, percent if unchanged return as a covered call, percent if assigned. You can choose to add percent naked yield. If it was a naked put and I was in the put chain, for example, Mike, that's what we do. Now we're going out weekly. Okay, so we'll go 1 week. And why is this important? Well, ignoring everything else I have here for the open interest, probability above, below, delta, all these things you can add through this add remove columns feature, any data that you want. I'm going to reset to default to clean this up a little bit for us. We can always add those back in. Okay. All right. So this is a little cleaner. We've still got volume and open interest, implied volatility, delta, and the focus that my eyes go to when a customer asks, or I'm on a coaching session, Mike, or here, and says, which is the best covered call if I'm looking at weeklies for stock that I own? And that's where these 4 shaded columns come into play. Not the naked yield so much, but these 3 shaded columns, that's where they come into play. You have a goal for what you're doing with TWLO, right? There's 3 ways that we can trade covered calls, of course. We can use an in-the-money covered call below the current stock price. Why would we do that? Well, the in-the-money gives us higher downside protection in case the stock falls. We're collecting intrinsic and time value. But the percent if assigned is going to be lower, and the percent if unchanged is going to equal to the percent if assigned. If the stock stays the same or moves up, we get assigned. We're not taking in as much time premium. This also means I'm not married to the stock, in the sense that if it gets assigned, I'm okay, and I move on. But it still has to match your goals. Is this covered call deep in the money at 320? With our stock at 340, even on a weekly, midpoint of 22.25, is the 6.5% downside protection good for a weekly position? Absolutely. But the trade-off of only a 0.4% return if assigned, that's probably not near my goals. I'm probably maybe here, 1 to 1.5%. That's minimum target. If I'm going in the money and I'm trying to be assigned, or this was an assigned naked put position and I'm just trying to get back to break even or trying to get a little more profit, that's a good weekly return. 0.8, 1.5%. This 2% at 340 is really good too, with a 2.3 downside protection. That's pretty good. But again, that's right at the money. So if the stock slips next week, it might be out of the money. I'm only collecting $7.98 to protect. That's pretty good on a 340 stock. But again, it's only $8 of protection, as opposed to 14 or 10 or 11. Now, at the money. At the money always gives you the highest time value at any time on any chain. That's part of the at the money bell curve. And this is one of the reasons why I mentioned I like to let my covered calls go a little bit in the money before rolling them, because I'm going to want to buy back at a lower time value, out of the money or slightly in the money. And then I'm going to roll to the future at the money option over here, which has the highest time value at the time, or maybe further out of the money, depending on my approach. As you can see here, let me clear these out for you real quick. As you can see here, Mike, in the money, we already saw those. Those are shaded here for you. The at the money at 240. Highest time value at 1. Oh, I'm sorry. That's slightly in the money. This one here, 2.1%. That's the one I meant. That's the highest time value on the entire chain for this expiration. Time value goes lower as we go in the money, goes lower as we go out of the money, at the money bell curve. If you're looking to maximize premium solely, you don't care if you get assigned or not, but you're looking to maximize time value on the position, the at the money approach might work and still give you some reasonable upside return for a 7-day trade. If, like the Microsoft position, and I don't know if this was actually Pierre's approach, but if he didn't want to be assigned on the position, he just wanted to continue to sell out of the money covered calls against it month by month or week by week to generate income and have it expire, then naturally your focus would be up here. you're going into the out of the money cycle. I would suggest that you still, whereas here, I want to look for a 1%, 0.8%, 1.5% return if assigned if I'm going in the money, Mike. I'm going out of the money, the return jumps, but that's including intrinsic gain up to 350 or 347.50 from where we are now, plus the premium. I'd still recommend looking here at the downside protection to find something that's at least giving you a 1, 1.2, 1.5% downside protection for an out of the money covered call. Again, out of the money, you're doing it because you don't want to lose the shares of stock. You want to hold them for further growth because you're more bullish, but you still want to try to generate a dividend-like income week by week or month by month, more like week by week here, by selling these out of the money calls. And you can also, of course, look at the probability. If you wanted to look for maybe a 0.2 or 0.3 delta, you'd be in this range. But I'd still want to have something close to that 0.8, 0.9, 1 to 1.5% downside protection. That's how we use the tool to analyze covered calls. That's one of the tools I would use since you already own TWLO, and you can analyze it here. Now, if you had sold, let's say, a 345 put, and the stock was put to you today at 345, and you collected maybe $3 in premium, so your total cost basis is 342, and you want to see what is the best approach or what is the best covered call now for your numbers. Well, I'd go back to the portfolio and I'd enter in my stock position. We'll just enter it in as a long stock. We have TWLO. I created a fake position today where I'd sold the 345 put, got $3 for it. And the stock was put to me today because we're at 340.93. So my cost basis would be $342. That includes the stock purchase price at 345 being assigned on that cash secured naked put. And then, of course, the premium of $3. And just as we saw with Pierre's position on the covered call for Microsoft, I can do the same thing here with Twilio. Go to position actions, position analysis. Long stock position, not much to break down here. I know my current profit, I'm at a loss of 107. And then here is a listing of the potential covered calls we could look at. So that's September 350 there. What is my downside protection? What is my potential percent if assigned? Now, these look different than the numbers we just saw on the chain because this is basing it on my cost basis of 342. When we were on the chain, it was basing it on the cost basis of 340.93. But still, same scenario. I can look at the August 27th. Am I getting a downside that I like? Yes, I am. Getting the return that I want? Yes, I am. Range out of the money. All looks pretty good. And as before, we could do the same thing. Simulate trade to see what was my original position to what my new position would look like. And am I adjusting my cost basis down to help me get back to break even? The break even here on the new covered call position would drop down to 337.50. We're on the long stock, of course, we're at 342 because that's our cost basis. So just like you can evaluate rollout opportunities, Mike, on a covered call, long call position, married put, collar spread, much more strategies, just a long stock position in the portfolio as well. Input the long stock. You can go to the position analysis. You'll be able to see your potential rollout opportunities here as you did on the chain, but based on your cost basis, not the current market price. And then as before, simulate that trade so you can see the side-by-side picture. And then, hey, let's just submit that change to the portfolio. Not saying this is the call that you would select, but now for next week, we've got an August 347.50 TWLO call with a cost basis of 342 and a premium of 473. Option chain. Using the portfolios we do to track and manage positions, you can track your long stock positions on your price point there, Mike, and then evaluate rollout opportunities based on your cost basis.